Hello everyone, welcome to Bab Fashion's YouTube channel. My name is Eunice. In this video, we'll be learning how to make this bustier gown with basque waistline and side drape. In my last video, I showed us how to draft and cut this gown. This video is the sewing part, which is a continuation of the last. If you haven't seen the video on how to draft and cut this gown, I'll be dropping the link in the description box. Please ensure to click on the link so that you can watch and understand how we came about this. So if you're new to my channel and you haven't subscribed, please kindly click on the subscribe button to subscribe and ensure to put on your notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. Thank you, and let's get right into the video. I'll be making use of a velvet fabric for this project, that's for the upper bodies. First, I'm going to iron hasty to the wrong side of the velvet. Velvet stretches horizontally and vertically. You want to make sure that you keep your fabric stable first since we're making a bustier. So I'm going to iron my hasty to the wrong side and cut out my pieces and show us the next thing to do. As you can see, I've cut out my pieces and I have my hasty on all the front pieces and as well as the back pieces. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to iron lining to the wrong side of this. I'm placing it on the velvet now. Now you can as well decide to double your hasty, but for me I used one layer of hasty and I'm going to iron my lining to the wrong side of this velvet fabric. This will actually help to keep it really stable. Lining does not stretch. So here I'm placing my lining. So this will help the velvet to maintain the width and the length of the lining. This is actually to help keep my fabric stable. So you can see I've placed my hemming gum on the velvet fabric and then I've placed the lining over it and you can see me pressing it down. This will actually help my fabric to stay really stable. This works perfectly well. So I'm going to do this for all the pieces I have, including the back, and then we'll go ahead and pad up the bustier area. So to pad our bustier, here I have my breast pad, which is also known as wadding. This is a medium weight breast pad and one side of it has gum and the other side does not have gum. The side with the gum is the side that will be facing the wrong side of the bustier. And here this is the side piece of my bustier. I'm going to pick the other side piece as well. I'll place them right side facing each other like this, and then I'm going to notch the underbust point. You can see I'll fold them into two like this and notch the underbust point. So having notched the underbust point, I'm placing the side piece, making sure that the underbust point I notch is aligned with the straight part of the pad. Can you see that? And then the next thing I'm going to do at the upper part here, I'll come down by 1 inch. So I'm just going to mark 1 inch at that point. That's at the upper part of the bustier. And take note that it is aligned, the down part is aligned with the straight part of the pad. And then this is me tracing out the shape. I'm just cutting out exactly the shape. And then I went ahead to notch the point where I came down by 1 inch from the neckline. So can you see the shape I have? I traced out exactly the same shape. So now the first thing you want to do is to mark the point where you have the bust point. That's the highest point here. You can see that it's a curve. So the highest point of the curve is the point where we have the bust point. So I haven't gotten that point. I'm going to mark it. And now the next thing I'm going to do is to enter half of the nipple to nipple measurement plus 1 inch. The nipple to nipple measurement of my client is 8 inches. 8 divided by 2, that will give me 4. So plus 1 inch, that will give me 5. This is because the side of the bust is bigger than the center area. So I'm adding 1 inch to that measurement. So you can see I've marked here on 5 inches. So I'm going to connect from the 1 inch point I came down at the upper part. I'm just going to curve it to meet that 5 inches. And then I'll also curve to meet the side. So can you see? So now I have the side piece of the bustier. That's for the pad. So I'll cut it out. And this is what I have. So I'm going to place this pad right side of the pad facing right side. Now I'm referring to the side with the gum as the right side. So I'll place it right side facing right side so that I can get the opposite side. This is because we have two side pieces. And you see? So you can see what it looks like on the side of the bustier. So I'm going to place it and cut the other side. And then I'll show us how to cut the center piece. So to cut the center piece, I'm going to fold it into two like this and notch the underbust point just the same way I notched the side piece. So you can see I place the side piece over the center piece so that we can notch exactly at the same point. This is just me verifying it. So you can see I'm going ahead to notch it. So once I've notched it, I'm going to notch and make sure that the notch reflects on the other side. So now you can see that we have our notches on both sides. I'm also going to place the pad. You want to make sure that where you have the underbust point, it's aligned, it's straight. You want it to be straight. You want to make sure that that part is straight. So if it is not straight, all you need to do is to just straighten it out. That's if your pad you have cut around that side. So just straighten out the underbust point there. So from the neckline, I'm coming down by 1 inch, just like I did for the side piece. So I'm going ahead to cut out my pad here also. You can see I'm just tracing out the shape I already have. I'm doing the same thing on the other side. And then I'm going to lift up the pad like this and then cut exactly at that 1 inch mark I have there. Just cut across like this. So now this is what we have for the middle piece. Okay, so here, so this side, can you see how I'm placing it? One is up and the other side is down. So you can see that the pad is showing on the neckline here. We cannot leave it this way. Okay, so I'm going to create a curved shape. I'm just going to come down to create that neckline shape. You see, this is the neckline. I'll fold it into two like this and place it. And you see, I'm just going to come down by 1/2 inch and follow the neckline shape. Just cut out the neckline shape so that we have the sweetheart shape. And this is what we have here. Can you see what it looks like? So for the down part, and see that the down part of our pad is straight and we cannot leave it straight because our underbust is not straight at the down part. So I'm going to be creating that curve that we have naturally under our bust. So I'm going to fold my pad into two like this. And you see I'm folding it into two. So at the folded part, which is the center front, I will go up by 1.5 inches at that point and mark it. So that 1.5 inches mark I have there at the center, I'll connect it to the side here. You see, and then I'll bring in my scissors and cut the shape out. So this is what our pad looks like. Can you see how curved it is under? This is what a typical shape of a woman looks under the bust. It's not straight. You see? So this is what our pad looks like. You can see that it's aligned with the notch part I marked at the underbust, and I have that 1/2 inch space at the neckline that we'll be using for our seam allowance for stitching the neckline. Okay, so now it's time for us to gum the pad to the fabric. So already I said that my pad has gum, but my fabric is already thick. Remember that I used a velvet fabric, I used hasty, and I also used lining. So it will take time for my iron, that's for my iron to be hot enough for the gum to stick to the back of this bustier. So you can either decide to stitch the sides at this point, or you use your hemming gum. Just place hemming gum in between, so that with hemming gum it is going to be faster for it to stick. So the heat from the iron, the heat from your steam iron, will just make it stick easily. Or you stitch it like I said. For me, I'm going to be using my hemming gum. So I'm just going to place hemming gum in between the fabric and the pad, and then I'll just press it down and it will stick easily. So if you're working with Ankara fabric, you do not really need to use hemming gum, because there's gum at the back of the pad. But this is because my fabric is thick, so for me I'll have to use that hemming gum so that it can stick well and fast. After pressing the pad, the next thing I'm going to do is to place the side piece over the center piece, and then I'm going to stitch on 1/2 inch here at the side. I'll repeat the same thing on this other side, and then I'll bring it back, press the same lines open, which is what I have done here. Can you see what it looks like? Can see our bustier is sitting well already. I repeated the same thing for the lining. I stitch them together and I press the same lines open. So here is my yoke. You can see I used a tool, that's a skin net, to turn the yoke that is served as the lining. You don't want to leave it like that. Use the skin net so that it gives that skin tone effect. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to trim my seam allowance really, really close, so that I don't have to notch the neckline, since the neckline is going to be transparent. So I don't want to notch it and you see notches around the neckline. So I'm just going to trim really close. You want to be very careful when you are doing this. You want to leave like 1/8 of an inch on the neckline. Please make sure that you don't mistakenly cut your seam line. Okay, so I'm going to flip the lining, that's which is the tool to the back side like this, and then I'm going to give it a nice press. Then I'm going to show us the next thing, how we're going to stitch the yoke to the neckline. So after pressing the yoke, this is what we have. So I'm going to place the yoke on the right side of the bustier. So these are bustier here. I'll place the yoke right side of the bustier, facing the right side of the yoke, making sure that I line the middle, that center where we have the sweetheart neckline. And then I'll take it to my sewing machine and stitch on 1/2 inch. I'll place my lining over it and stitch also on 1/2 inch, and which is what I have done here. Can you see I used the lining to turn all three of them, so you can see what it looks like on the wrong side. It is neat. All my seam lines are hidden inside. Next, we'll be creating the Basque waistline. So here I have the skirt part, and you can see I've stitched the lining to the front piece. You see? So, and I also went ahead to hem the lining. So you can see that the scallop part of the lace is 2 inches longer than the lining, which was what I talked about in my previous video. So like I said, that watching the previous video will actually make it easier for you to understand what we're doing in this video. So please ensure to watch it for a clearer understanding. I folded the front piece of the skirt into two, and then here I folded the bustier into two as well. So I'm placing the bustier over the skirt part, and then watch carefully what I'm doing here at the side. I'm coming down by 1/2 inch. I will come down by 1/2 inch from the skirt, that's from the top of the skirt, and then I'll make sure to place the bustier 1/2 inch over the skirt at the side here. You see, so I'm placing 1/2 inch here, and then I'll make sure to align the skirt very well. That's the bustier very well over the skirt. And then I'll trace out the basque shape. You see? So having traced out the basque shape, I came down by by a length of 3 inches. That's in my previous video. I came down by a length of 3 inches. That's the basque length I used. But here now you can see I have 3.5. This is because of the half inch I added that I marked at the side. So that half inch is my seam allowance that I'll be using to join the upper bodice to the down part. So now you can see that I have 3.5 inches. So I'm going to go up by half inch from this point. Can you see from the side here? I'm going to mark half inch, and this half inch is the seam allowance that I'll be using to join the skirt to the upper part. So by marking this half inch, meaning that what I'm going to have at the middle now is going to be the exact inches I added to the length of the front, which is 3 inches. I hope we understand that. So I'm going to cut out this shape that I have here. I'll bring in my scissors and cut out the basque shape. Okay, so after cutting out the basque shape, this is what we have. And this is what it looks like when we place them together. You see that it's matching up. You can see that the upper part is sitting inside the down part. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to take my bustier to my machine, and then I'll stitch the sides. This I'm doing French finishing. I want to hide my seam lines inside. So after stitching the sides, I'll turn it out to the right side, and then I will place the basque shape. Can you see? I'm going ahead to notch the center here so that we can make sure that we sew very well in this V shape. You see, I'm going to stitch on half inch this way, and then I'll repeat the same thing on the other side. I'll stitch half inch the other way as well. Okay, so and that's after I must have turned the lining of the upper part and stitch them together on the V shape on the down part before I'll join it to the skirt part. So I'll do that and come back and show us. So you can see that I have sewn the basque shape. That's the basque waistline. This is what it looks like on the wrong side. You see, on the reverse side rather. You see, so now this is the second lining because I have two linings. One is the satin and then the other one is the second lining. So now you can see that I also have the basque shape on the lining. So I'm going to place the lining now, and you see that the lining is now on the is facing the bustier, not the skirt part, because this is because I want to turn the waistline completely to hide my seam inside. So I'm going to pin it from the side here. You can as well start from the middle. So you can see I'll pin this middle, making sure that the middle aligns as well. I'll pin it and then I'll pin the other side. So I'll take this to my sewing machine and sew on this basque waistline, following the previous stitch I have there on the waistline. And then I'll also go ahead and turn the sides of the skirt, that's of the down part. I'll turn the sides of the down part just like I turn the sides of the upper bodies. Okay, so this is what I mean after stitching on the waistline like this. And then the next thing I'm going to do is to stitch on the down part following the lining shape, just to use it to turn it, and then I'll come back and show us what we have. Okay, so I'm done stitching the waistline and I've also stitched the sides of the lining. You see, so now you want to make sure that you go ahead and notch this waistline. Remember that the waistline is not straight, it's curved. So you just want to notch it so that everything relaxes well. After notching the waistline, I'm going to turn it out and give it a very nice press so that it relaxes well. Okay, the front piece is ready. Now the next thing we're going to do is to create the drape. So from the side of the waistline, I'm coming down by 9 inches. I'll mark 9 inches at this point. This 9 inches is the hip point. That's where the drape will start from. So from the hip line here, I'll come down by 10 inches. So these 10 inches, I'll be pleating our drape exactly into these 10 inches that I marked here. And then this is our velvet fabric, as a leftover velvet fabric, and it's about 41 inches. I'm going to first hem the sides, and then I'll pleat what I have there into that 10 inches at this point. You want to make sure that you pleat it into the 10 inches mark you have there. For this drape, it started from the hip line and is topping above the knee line. Okay, so you can see I'm pleating it downwards. I just pinned it from the 9 inches mark I have here, and then I'm going ahead to create my pleats downwards. So I'm just going to stretch out my fabric well, take my time carefully and pleat it. You see, just pleat downwards. So all I'm doing is to eyeball my pleats, and then I'll keep pinning it till I get to the end of the 10 inches mark I have there. Okay, after pinning, this is what our drape looks like. Can you see? I'll be reducing the length of the fabric here at the side. I want this drape to stop at the 3/4 length, so I'll be reducing it by 10 inches. I'll take this to my sewing machine, stitch the sides of the drape, and then I'll go ahead and join the back and fix the sleeves. And then I'll show us how to create the drape on the mannequin. So this is what our gown looks like. Can you see how beautiful it came out? I went ahead to fix this beautiful sleeve. It's a tulip sleeve. I have the video on how to create a beautiful tulip sleeve like this. So just in case you haven't seen that video, I'll be dropping the link in the description box so that you can watch and learn how to make the sleeve. So our gown is already coming out beautiful. So now it's time for us to tack the drape. I'll be tacking the drape to this side of the gown. So I'm just going to gradually follow the pleats like I pleated it here. I'll pick the first one like this, gently, just follow it this way. And then the next one, like this, like this. And make sure that the part I hemmed is folded and hidden inside. You see? Just creating my pleats nicely. So remember I used a velvet fabric. You want to stretch it out. You want to stretch it out so that it's sitting really well. Can you see how I'm holding it? So you just stretch it out a little. So I want it this way, like this. So I already have my needle and thread. I'm just going to fix my thread. After knotting the thread, I doubled the thread. So you want to make sure that you make your thread very strong. I'm just going to hold them together like this. I'll return it back again inside. This is just to hold the entire fabric together. Like this again. I'll still return it. I'll do it several times. Now this is just on the velvet alone. Like this. You see? So now they're together. I'm going to still return it back inside. This is just make sure that it's as firm as possible. So I'm going to still tack it. Tack it again. I want to do it several times. Okay. So once I feel it's tight enough, I'm just going to knot it here. And you see how many times I'm tying it? So you knot again. You still knot again, like this. So we're okay now. So then I'm just going to place it. This place I tie. And you see, I'm making sure that it covers the side. I want it to be just a little bit on top of the velvet fabric. That's on the waistline like this. So you can see that it's this side of the basque that is showing, but this side isn't showing. So now I'm going to pass the needle into the actual gown. So you want to make sure that you are dragging it a little so that it holds firmly. When I pass my needle into the actual gown, I'm going to so this is what I have. Going to tack it well. I'll return it back again. So I want to make sure that you hold it very well. I have this silver applique I'll be placing on the neckline here. That's on the yoke area like this. So I'm just going to cut here where it ends. So I'll be placing this silver applique here on the neckline. Then I'm going to place one here as well. So if you don't want your drape to be tacked to the actual outfit, all you need to do is to, after sewing your drape together, you fix a hook and eye. You fix the hook to the drape itself and then fix the eye to your outfit. So that way you can open and close. But I want this just tacked to the outfit. And then I'm going to place this trimming, this applique on top of this part as well as on the neckline. So this is what we have. Came out really beautiful. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and will learn something from this video. If you did, please make sure to like this video, share this video with your friends, and do not forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you, and see you in my next video. Bye.